Today's topic is mostly on Solution Manager and how we can use Solution Manager and Wily Introscope for monitoring a mobile landscape. So we'll start with a quick introduction to Solution Manager. So this is the agenda for us today. We'll talk about the application operations, the root cause analysis, the technical monitoring part and alerting, the transport management thing, and just give you a quick roadmap of how the Solution Manager releases are coming and helping us in the mobility space. After that, my colleague will take you through the configuration part of how we can configure Wily Introscope as well as Solution Manager for mobile landscapes. So we'll start with a quick introduction to Solution Manager. I hope most of you guys are familiar with Solution Manager. So SAP Solution Manager is a central solution for application lifecycle management and the operation of software solution. So with SAP Enterprise Support, the scope of SAP's support offering has been a complete customer solution, not only a single application. So the Solution Manager provides these capabilities that is required for the delivery of these kind of solutions. So if you look at, we have Solution Manager covering the project management, the documentation part of it, the change management, and then the application operations, business operations, and then the incident and problem request management. So basically it covers the end-to-end aspect from the design phase, like blueprinting, till the production, and it's like the run SAP like a factory, and how the production work, optimize, and use this one. So having said this overall Solution Manager, we will be focusing on the application operation parts as highlighted in this one. So what are the capabilities offered as a part of Solution Manager application operations? So we have the technical monitoring and alerting, the root cause analysis, the technical administration, configuration, and data volume management. Out of this, what is relevant for mobility is the technical monitoring and alerting and the root cause analysis. In general, what is the thought process behind an application operations? So we'll monitor the systems, we will notify in case of any critical events happen, we can analyze it and then optimize for a better one. So the notifications, the monitoring is what the whole idea behind is a proactive monitoring rather than a reactive one. We should know something that is going to be going bad beforehand, then let's take corrective measures even before it's happening over the one. Of course, the Solution Manager comes with reporting capabilities that you can use for your KPI reporting or SLA reporting. So that comes along with us. Now focusing on the root cause analysis part. In general, the root cause analysis has these applications, which is the end-to-end workload analysis, change analysis, exception, trace, and the host database analysis. So I will go through each one of them in detail regarding what it is and how we can help us going through this one. So in the technical monitoring and alerting context, we have a unified alert inbox. Basically, this is the central Solution Manager alert inbox. So all the incidents or notifications or alerts for any of the software's managed system will come to one single unified inbox. So that way the system administrators can concentrate on that for the alerts and do this one. The system monitoring is again for overview of the technical systems, how each of my system is performing, what is the status, and then can see the metrics and the values and all those things. The other things, applications in the technical monitoring are end user experience monitoring. These are not mobile relevant, but just to keep mentioning in the same context is end user experience monitoring, PI monitoring, BI monitoring, and interface and connection monitoring. From the name itself, you know these are not mobile relevant. So we will be concentrating on the inbox and the system monitoring aspect of it. So now let's go through each of these tools in detail and say what each of these can provide us or help us in this context. So the Wily Introscope agent. So For Solution Manager integration of any mobility installation, we will have a Wily Introscope agent and a Solution Manager diagnostic agent installed on this one. So my colleague will take you through this installation part and how we can configure, even though it's pretty simple and straightforward. So for the Introscope part, the Introscope agent will give you the basic information regarding the health of your system. It's a real-time monitoring. You can have multiple dashboards that give you information about your system, your Java and the .NET code, and for the C++ base codes. Because SUP in generally or mobile platform has all these kind of combinations of components available, we can monitor these through the Wily Introscope agent on this one. So let's go through each of them in detail. So these are real screenshots so that we can see this one. So one is the Cyber platform overall dashboard, which will talk you about the average response time from each client. We can see on the left-hand side top the number of client requests we can be seeing, the average time for each backend time, and the data tier response time and the SUP process, memory usage, and stuff like that. So this will give you a very good indication about what is happening in the system at this point of time. This is the live data coming in. It's refreshed every 15 seconds. So overall, you can see the response times and the backend performance on this one. So then you have the end-to-end workload analysis tool. So Wily dashboards are mostly for snapshot kind of thing. You can see what is happening now. Now, if you want to have historical information of this one, the end-to-end workload analysis is basically gives you the workload of the system over a period of time. This is really helpful in analyzing where is the bottleneck. Is Monday morning the problem, or is like Friday evenings, or whatever the time you have as per the KPIs. So this will clearly let you know when do the system have a high bottleneck, what is the time when every user try to do some kind of a synchronization. So those kind of aspects we can easily find out from this and then take proactive measurements how to reduce these kind of things. So we'll give you what is the worst or the bad response time, what is the most highest response time, and what point of time you feel this large response time coming in, how we can do analysis on that part. So this is the architectural overview of how do the end-to-end workload analysis works. Basically, you will have for all the managed systems, you will have a diagnostic agent and the solution manager tools, plugins, STAPI will be installed on this one. So for all ABAP-based installation, the SMD agent will report the data, and for all non-ABAP-based system, the Wily Introscope agents and the bytecode agent will report the data to the Wily Enterprise Manager. And from the Wily Enterprise Manager, the solution manager will extract the data every hour and then aggregate it into an information cube in the BI, so Solution Manager Business Warehouse. So that's the overall thing, and so you have the current data available for, we can configure it to be 1 week or 2 weeks, which will show you the data of the current one. And then from that one, we can store this data for a longer time in the BW, so we can have historic data for 1 year, 2 years, or how much ever time you wish to keep the data. That will prevent solution manager from overloading the data or becoming too. So we have the BW where we can push the data, aggregate the data and push it to that one. So, and then we have the live data available in solution manager for the time we can configure. So if you look at a very high level, whatever the data that's shown at the Wily Introscope or the Wily dashboard is more or less similar the data that we can see in the workload analysis. The advantage here is that you have more historic data to compare with. Because otherwise the data like higher average response time of 10 milliseconds or 10 seconds doesn't make any sense unless you have some kind of a baseline to compare with. So this will definitely give you that kind of a baselines or that kind of an information where we can start comparing with. So what is possible in the workload analysis or what all things are shown in the workload analysis? So first we have the average response times coming in for each of these missions. So you can see that this particular time the average response time was high. We can see the exact values. And then we can see the number of requests coming into this one, what is the top calls to the gateway. So we can see if you have a backend gateway, SAP gateway, we can see that how much of the request and which of them are the top, or what in terms of time, what was the top request coming to gateway. And you can also see the top SQL statement executed on the CDB, or it's on the data tier of the mobile platform. Similarly, we have a workload analysis for SAP NetViewer Gateway. It will tell you that what is the dialog response time and what is the RFC response time. As you can see in the picture here, the RFC response times are far higher than the dialog response times, basically because the gateway might have spawned an RFC call to a backend ECC or a CRM system to fetch the data. We can see on the host analysis what is the memory and CPU utilization of the host. So this will give you the kind of information about how much memory and CPU used at the overall level, and then we can go at each process level, saying that out of the different processes running in the mobile platform, which ones are taking more time. For example, the RSOE or is the OB service manager or whatever is a different component, which of them are taking more time and how we can see this analysis. So this will give you an overall idea about what is available for the monitoring part on a workload perspective. Now let's go to the next topic, change analysis. So change analysis, the biggest motivation here is that there are a lot of changes made in the system over a period of time, and how will you track these changes, and how will you figure out that any of the recent problems or whatever your bottlenecks you are facing is related to any of the changes you have done or in that context. So what all things on basically we have transport mechanisms where we can transport the changes from one, basically the application changes to move from one to another, and then we can know what all changes are made on this one. So we have a change reporting tool that basically help us to know how many changes are made, what all the technical changes, parameter changes made, any SAP nodes has been implemented, and a software maintenance related one. So this is same as you look at from this solution manager point of view. All the tools are exactly the same look and feel, whether it is an SUP or it is any other CRM or an ERP. So the learning curve is more or less zero in this case. So let's come to the E2E or the end-to-end change analysis. What are the use case for this? What are the changes you made on this one over a period of time, and how many changes are made, and what exact change you are made? What was the value of the parameter before you made the change? So this is really important, especially for the mobile landscape where a lot of changes are non-database changes or were not done by some UI, it's some configuration files. You know that what was the value of that thread number before, say it was 10, now you changed into 5, and that's why you see a performance problem. So this will really help you in identifying the changes. The overall architecture point of view remains fairly same. So we have the solution manager diagnostic agents installed on the machines that will report the configuration changes into our configuration and change database. From this, we can aggregate it and put into an info cube on an hourly basis. So what is available on this one? You will see the change analysis overview, like how many changes you made per day. And then we can see what are the detailed changes, and then we can even see the history of that one, like you change this value to say 10 to 5, then 5 to 20, 20 to 18. You can see all those historic values as well. So coming to the tools, when you come to the change analysis for this one, you will see that these are the numbers. So this will tell you that how many changes are made on this system. So if you look at the dates over here, that on March 3rd, 4 changes has been made on the system, followed by 5th there is 1 change, and then on 29th you made again another 4 change. So this will exactly tell you how many changes you made on a specific date. So whenever you have some kind of an issues or something kind of a performance or a technical problem you are facing, you can always come and see that I see this problem from Monday. Did you make any changes over this weekend? We can come here and look into it, see how many changes we made. And if you see there is some changes made, This is a drill down thing. Just click on that one. It will take you to the next screen that will change you the change reporting part. This will exactly tell you that on a particular thing, how many change, what exact changes has been made on this system. And it will tell you what was the value and what was the old value as well. So we can see here that a cluster properties has been changed, or a security system has been changed, or it's like a domain values has been changed, or a license info, whatever what has been changed, it will return show you that one. And what is the parameter name? So for example, the async operation replay queue count has been now changed to 5. And if you want to know what was the value before that, you can always go over here and it will tell you that what was the value before and after changing on this one. So that's for the SUP parts which I was showing earlier. And now similar things are possible for the SAP Native Gateway, where you can see what has been configured and has been changed. As you can see for SUP as well as for the SAP Native Gateway. Now the next tool of this one, which is the end-to-end exception analysis. The exception analysis basically tell you that how many exceptions are happening on a system and what is the kind of a graph about how many happen and what the common point between these things, whether Mondays are seeing a lot of exceptions, or you can correlate all those things over this one. So the architecture remains again more or less the same. We have the diagnostic agent that reports this into SUP, into the solution manager, which then keep it for some days and then aggregate into the info cube. Where do they get this data from? So the SUP exceptions are picked from the Java errors coming in the logs, and for the gateway it is the ABAP dumps happening in the system. So this will give you a count of, okay, it's a fairly high number of counts in the screenshot, like 140, 150 exceptions per day. Not so good, but it will give you all the kind of errors that happen on this one from the server logs, the domain logs, and from the Windows event logs. So from a SUP point of view, we'll get it from all the sources for the Sybase and web platform. And here you can see that java.lang or the system security exception has been happened, or login failure error happened. This will give you a statistics information about the total number of exceptions happening on this one. So all this log information, you can see this is in the server logs, and now this is in the event logs. So all the three sources, like you can see three tabs over there, the domain log, server log, and the event log. It will tell you how many of these errors happened for a particular date range you are searching for on the top. You can see the logs of the Sybase and web platform straight away in this one. We can see that we can pull the log from the system remotely into Solution Manager and can view it over here. Since we have the logs from the machines here, this will help us in easily viewing the logs if you don't have physical access to the machine. End-to-end tracing is the next best thing available from the Solution Manager. This is like if you have heard about end-to-end tracing in a portal domain, this is fairly same way. How do you know the root cause of a problem? Basically, there are so many components involved in this one. You have a mobile SUP server, a gateway, a backend. Now, how do you know for a particular transaction where the problem is? So, end-to-end trace has been available for online mobile application as of now. So, the user will do a particular operation, and then we will do a tracing on all the machines which we are passing through the gateway, and then collect the data from each of them, and then we can analyze it in the SUP Solution Manager to find out where the root cause is. So how do you enable this one? So basically the administrator will enable the tracing of the applications on this one. So the trace has been enabled on the SUP side. So once this is enabled, the global flag, the users can now start tracing. So the user will initiate the trace and then start the operations on this one. So once the particular operation, for example, create a sales order or whatever the operation, once that is finished, the user will say, now I'm done with the tracing, and then the logs corresponding to that will be collected by the platform and send it to Solution Manager. So once the data comes to the Solution Manager will basically contact all the systems in that transaction and collect the logs and then give you analysis of that one. So this is done through SAP Passport. So the client will initiate a passport, and along with the request, the client will send this passport to the mobile server, from which it will go to the gateway. So wherever the request goes to, the passport will be attached to it and sent through, so that all the systems in this chain will know that, okay, this is not a normal request, this is a request for trace, and I should trace this request, and whatever happened in this during this request should be traced and stored according to the passport. So once this is done, the solution manager can basically go and ask the system, give me the logs for this passport, so that it will return all the logs, and then we have one complete picture in the solution manager to see what happened. So basically device have communicate all of them and solution manager. So the device will send the request, it goes to SAP, then it will goes to a gateway, or it goes to another system. So all the systems this passport goes into, they will do the trace and send the data. And then now you can see that solution manager will then pull the data from all those systems. So now we have the complete data on this one. So how this will looks like after we collected all those traces. So here we can see that once the solution manager collect all the traces, you will see an overall picture like how much of time is spent on what are the systems and what is the core error messages, what happened on these things. We can see all of them in this one. Now we can see in this picture that the total time is spent on the client is very minimal, and then we have more time spent on the server. So now we can drill down from here to identify that what was the thing. So if you go to the trace analysis part of it, you know that there are basically three systems involved in this one. We have a client that has made HTTP request to an SAP system called VEW, which will made a further call to a backend system called MLS, which is an ABAP-based system. And we can see over here the response times in each of them. So the overall response time is 1013 milliseconds. Out of this, around 47 seconds is spent in the SAP machine, and there are 519 milliseconds is spent on the ABAP, which is like 87%. Now, if you are seeing a performance problem here, you know where to look into. There is no need to look into the SAP machine and waste your efforts. You have to look into the MLS machine, which is an ABAP box, to figure out why it is taking 519 milliseconds in this one. This is not the only thing which is not left at here. We can even go down to see that what is the query that is taking the time in this one. And if it is an ABAP machine, we can exactly drill down to the line of code, which is where you feel the most time taken in this one. So this is the time on the SAP side of it. What is the time taken by each of these components in SAP? And then we can go down in the ABAP box. We can go down to the correct line of code. We can see the SQL statements, the most expensive SQL statements, coding. People who are used to the ABAP tools for looking down for performance optimization, it's exactly the same set of tools you can available to go and have a detailed look. So that's kind of an end for the root cause analysis part of it. So now we'll go into the technical monitoring and alerting part. What is available in technical monitoring in this one? We have the different kinds of alerts we can generate in this one. We can see a system monitoring. So we have the unified alert inbox, as I talked earlier, that talks about the different alerts coming in. And then you have the beautiful system monitoring that talks about the system and where is the problem in the system. So this is a screenshot of a Cyber Sunweb platform of Solution Manager using 7.5 SP05. So you can see here a graphical view of the system, and those who are familiar with the system monitoring will see it on the same pages. But for those who are new on this one, I will just give you a quick introduction that this talks about a system by the name VMW, which is an SAP-based system, which has 4 DBs and one host on this one. And this all runs on a physical host by the name VMW 4565, which is on the last of this one. On the right hand side, we can see here that there are 3 categories. We can see 3 traffic lights over there. One is the instance performance, availability, and exceptions. So if you look at on the top block, we can see there are 2 green lights and 1 red light. That you can see that the performance is Green, the availability has been red, and there are exceptions has been fine. So you can see there is a problem with the availability of the overall SUP solution. And now if you come down and look into this one, there is no problem with the databases, but you will see there is a problem with the instance. And if you look down, you will see the problem is with the host and not with the instance. So this way we can see that where is the problem of the overall SUP solution is now linked to the physical host or the physical machine in which it is running. On the right hand side, you can see there are different matrices that calculate the value for this one. And we can go to each of these and say what is the value of this and come down to get this one. So how do the instance has been, performance has been calculated, how do the availability has been calculated, and then we can see that, for example, if a call to the backend system takes more than 1 second, you can say it as an yellow alert or a yellow value, and if you say if it takes more than 2 seconds, make it red. So you can completely configure these values. So SAP Solution Manager by default provides a subset of matrices that we can help start monitoring straight away. You can change, you can add new matrices, you can change existing ones, or you can change the values of the existing ones so that you can fine tune for your requirements. This matrices will basically, the values of this matrices will help us generating the alerts to say that, okay, now if there are more than 10 exceptions happen, raise an alert. So this is basically based on the particular usage of what we can see. How do you get these numbers? It's basically you get from our earlier tools which we have talked about, the exception analysis tools, the end-to-end exception analysis, workload analysis. You can look into these tools for the historic values. And using that, we can say that, okay, I see only 3 to 4 errors a day. Now, if you say anything more than 5, if there is something going wrong, I need to inform my IT administrators to have a look. Or you can say, I see 50 errors every day, it's fine, normal, my application has 50 errors per day. You can decide on that numbers and then put it accordingly. So this, the overall alert inbox part and system monitoring will give you a good perspective starting for proactive monitoring that will give you very good values for, it's like easy way that rather than monitoring the system every day, every 5 minutes, come and look into the system. This will monitor you the system and give you an alert as and when required. And alerts have alert grouping. For example, it will not flood your inbox with too many mails. So you open an alert and you can work on it, and all subsequent alerts will be coming into the same group so that it doesn't flood your inbox with so many errors. Now the next topic of Solution Manager is the transport management. How do the CTS Plus integration help us in this one? So this will help us in moving the transport or basically the application changes or the deployment of packages from your dev to QA to production and track it. So this will really help us in tracking these changes. What is possible with CTS Plus using 2.2? You can move the MBOs from the application packages basically from a source system to a target system using CTS Plus. You have the connection name, endpoint, role mappings, synchronization tracing, and package logging. All of them, whatever associated with this particular application package, can be combined into one and then moved across from one system to another. So this is like a big overall view of how this can happen. From the ACC, we can export the packages and its relevant configuration into a zip file. Then we can import it into using your Transport Plus system into multiple systems like a test system and a production system. So we can import this via the TMS jobs so that this will be pushed into the SU. Say if you look at down, the SUQ is the queue system and SUP is the production system. So we can track, you can have approval flows and all those things merged along with this one. So this will avoid the manual way of doing it, and we have a proper procedure for moving the request across each machine. Now on a higher level, what is the roadmap for Solution Manager for mobile? So we started with our journey with 7.1 SPO5. We have the integration of all the mobility related components in this one. Now we have the SPO7 out and we are in the 8, and this is the overall Solution Manager release planning. a quick overview of what is possible in each of these things. So with 7.1 SPO4, you have the change analysis, exception, and workload analysis on an SUP 2.1 or a gateway 2.0. With SPO5, I think that's kind of a fair. We have more tools available. We have the trace analysis for online scenarios. We have the trace analysis for offline scenarios with data orchestration engine. We have a system monitoring for mobile and the transport and deployment management with 2.2. So that is SUP 2.2 with Gateway. I think this is what we are looking at into the current scope of this one. Going forward, which is end-to-end for offline scenarios and system monitoring for all SUP scenarios. This will be for future with the newer releases of SMP and stuff. So it will be coming up in the future part of it. So having said that, I would just conclude what I was talking about, the overview of the solution manager.